Abe Lincoln, you've given it your best. You really have. You've run a very spirited campaign, a very passionate campaign, an issue-driven campaign. You have a big movement behind you, but you simply can't win the Republican nomination. You're behind in delegates. You simply can't win. We want to ask you, when are you going to step aside and throw your support behind William Seward or Salmon Chase for a Republican nominee for President of the United States? When are we going to start hearing about party unity from you, Abe Lincoln? Come on, Bill Seward and Salmon Chase are both ahead of you in delegates. And isn't it time, Abe, for you to step aside? Isn't it time to start talking Republican Party unity? So, Abe Lincoln, when will you step aside? When will you tone down your rhetoric? When will we start hearing about party unity out of Abe Lincoln? That is what we'd be hearing now if Abe Lincoln were around now, or if the media were around back then, regarding his run for the nomination for the Republican Party for president. But, most Americans don't. They don't remember yesterday. How are they going to remember back in the 1800s? I mean, when I talk about what happened in 2008 between Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, people forget. Oh, that really had happened? Oh, well, like it was 100 years ago. It was 8 years ago. So you can imagine the 1800s. Of course, you're not going to hear anything about this from the media. Nothing. Nothing that Abraham Lincoln won on the third ballot, that it was promised and manipulated by his friends to get him in, and on the third ballot, with a lot of infighting, he won the Republican nomination, went on to become one of the greatest presidents this country's ever had. Could you imagine if Bill Seward or Salmon Chase had won that and possibly become president, or not? Would there still be slavery? Would it have gone on another 20 years, 50 years, 100 years? Who knows, right? So this is why, when people continue to obsess over the pledged delegate count, Bernie being 190 behind, 200 behind, 210 behind, whatever, Hillary only has 1,400 somewhat delegates. She needs about another 1,000, almost 1,000, to clinch the nomination, regardless of some of these networks you watch. And it's about 50-50 right now. So half of them show her with the superdelegates, would push up like a 1,900, which means she could probably clinch it Tuesday, or maybe the following Tuesday. But that's not the way it works. It does not work. Superdelegates do not come into the process of clinching the nomination. The 2,383 delegates needed to clinch have to be done with pledged delegates, because those are the delegates that are voting now. Those are the ones you can add up now. The superdelegates, I feel like I've said this 100 fucking times, the superdelegates don't vote until the convention. Until the convention in July, July 25th to the 28th, the superdelegates don't vote. Their votes don't mean anything until then. So you cannot add those into, you can't add those 450 that she supposedly has on her side now, who are changing day by day, just like they did in 2008. You can't put that in her total. That's not part of the 2,383. So she needs about 1,000 more pledged delegates in order to clinch the nomination, where she can really say, look, I've gotten to that magic number and I've clinched. Just like a sports team has to be so many games ahead with so many games left in order to have clinched. You can't be 5 games up with 25 games left and say you've clinched. You got to be 5 games up with 4 games left to say you've clinched. That's the way it works. This is very, very simple math. Right now, Hillary's 5 up with 25 left. She's not even close to clinching. Not even close. As I have said, neither Bernie nor Hillary will get to 2,383 pledged delegates. Neither of them will. So this will go to the convention, just the way it did when good old Honest Abe was around. Good old Honest Abe. Not Honest Seward or Honest Chase. William Seward and Salmon Chase, who the hell are they? This is the way it works. The Republicans will probably be going to the convention as well. And this is where Bernie... There are 3 phases to this. There's been a little bit of confusion among the Sanders campaign, it seems. You have Tad Devine, the campaign advisor, saying things, and Jeff Weaver saying things, and then Bernie saying things, and there's kind of different things going on here. There's Bernie, who's going to be on message. His message basically is his platform, and that he wants to keep going through California to get as many pledged delegates as possible. Mathematically, he can still edge ahead of her in pledged delegates. Forget about the math of him getting 2,383. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen for her. It's not going to happen for him. But there's still a math which says about, I think he has to win 58% of pledged delegates remaining in order to go ahead of her. You know, be maybe 8 pledged delegates ahead of her after California. That's not going to solve anything either. If Bernie ends up 20 pledged delegates ahead of Hillary on June 14th, do you think Hillary's going to give up? You think she's going to say, you came on strong and you won, good for you, you're the nominee? Of course not. She's going to take it to the convention, and she has every right to. You have to get to 2,383 pledged delegates by June 15th. If you don't, it goes to the convention. That's the way it works. This is plain and simple. I'm tired of seeing charts. Oh, charts, Bernie needs this to get to this, she needs this to get to this. It's going to the convention, period. Let's win as many states as possible. Let's win as many pledged delegates as possible. Because that's just another thing in your favor, going into the convention. Another element, one of about 50 you bring to the convention. That's one of the things Abe Lincoln had against him. Didn't matter, he still won it. The convention is about sorting out who is the best candidate to win in November. Who is the best candidate to win? All the polls show Bernie gets all the independents. He's the only one with a positive approval rating. He beats Trump by a bigger margin than Hillary. Hillary loses to Cruz and Kasich. Bernie beats them both. She loses to Ryan. Bernie beats Ryan. This will all be sorted out at the convention. That's the point. Who is the best candidate to win in November? We will know their nominee a month before we know ours. Then we'll have a month of polls showing both Bernie and Hillary against that one person who is their nominee. You don't need polls against 7 other people. You'll have one person. It'll be Trump, Cruz, Kasich, or Ryan, most likely. This is what it's about. Now, Bernie's not going to talk about the convention, even though from day one, since he started running a year ago, he said he's going all the way to the convention. This is not new. He has said that from day one. We're taking this through to the convention, period. So I don't know what a shock this is to everybody, because that's what he said all along. But Bernie's going to be on message, talk about his platform and winning states and winning delegates. Then you'll have his campaign people who are going to be talking about other strategies. What if that doesn't work out? What if you don't get to 2,383 pledged delegates? Well, then it goes to the convention. And what happens if you don't win at the convention? Well, then there's a decision to be made. 3 tiers. First tier is getting the voting process done with through June 15th in D.C. Second tier, the convention. Possible third tier is what you do if you don't get the nomination. If the party doesn't do the right thing and nominate the best person to win in November, what do? It will depend on the numbers. If it's Trump against Hillary, his approval is minus 40, hers is minus 25. Nobody with a negative approval rating has ever won the White House in the history of approval ratings. The history. And these aren't like, they're not minus 2, minus 3. They're minus 40 and minus 25. Bernie's plus 10. That's a lot to take into consideration. The fact that you have 2 candidates who are not liked, independents despise both of them. Bernie can get a chunk of Democrats, most independents, and even a chunk of Republicans who won't vote for Trump. Or Cruz. So that's something to be considered, but it has to be done in stages. But this is going to the convention. It is. It's going to the convention. That's what it comes down to. So there's no need to really talk about, is he going to run as a third party, is he not, blah, blah, blah. Is Trump going to run as a third party, is there going to be 4 candidates? It all depends. It all depends. If I believe the Republicans take the nomination away from Trump, he will run as a third party, most likely. That opens up more possibilities. So I think we need to really keep our eye on the prize here, which is the convention. Which is why no matter if he wins or loses states, you have to continue to contribute, because the convention, you got to sustain through the convention now. We're not talking about being sustained through mid-June. We got being sustained through July. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening in that 6-week period between June 15th and July 25th. There'll be more rallies. They'll be getting out people to call the superdelegates. There'll be this conventions. You got to get people to the conventions. It's a lot. It's very expensive. So you have to continue to contribute. That's the most important thing. no matter what. A lot of candidates don't take it to the convention, even though their opponent doesn't get to the pledged delegates, because they don't have any money. That's why they do it. They don't have any money. Remember, Hillary Clinton herself said in 2008, I know it's so long ago, she said, I don't buy this party unity nonsense. My husband didn't get the nomination until the last possible minute in June. And now in April she wants Bernie to drop out. All of a sudden it's about party unity. Once again, she evolves. So, don't listen to Hillary's bullshit. Don't listen to the mainstream media's bullshit. Don't believe the bullshit you see on social media. This is going to the convention. It's going to the convention. Bernie has said it from day one. The way the numbers are lining up, that's the way it's going to be. It's the law of the land. That's the law of the nominating process. Otherwise, that number 2383 wouldn't exist. So, if they didn't want that number to exist, and they didn't believe they should ever go to a convention contested, there wouldn't be a number. They'd say whoever's ahead in pledged delegates at the end of the voting wins. That's not the way it is. Why don't they say that? Why don't they say if you're one pledged delegate ahead by mid-June, you get it? It's easy enough to say that. Neither the Republicans nor the Democrats say that because they want a strong candidate, the strongest candidate. And in previous years, most years, the person who's a nominee is way ahead of pledged delegates. They get to that number and like 300 or 400 delegates beyond that. They have it clinched by April. As you can see, that's not happening. Bernie's got almost 1,200. She's got about 1,400. So this is the point, people. I've gone long enough. But what I'm saying is, this has happened before. And there's a reason. The way it's set up the way it is. To get the strongest candidate to win in November. Not the strongest primary candidate. It's pointless. That's pointless. You build a team to win the championship, not to win your division. Who gives a shit? You got to win the big one. And all the numbers line up with Bernie being the best candidate to win the big one. And to win it the biggest. And to win it the Senate. And to maybe win back the House or most of it. That's what the convention's all about. And it's about you calling the superdelegates and saying, look, Bernie's the strongest candidate. Period. You vote for him, or we're not voting for you. We're going to primary you. And believe me, even though those people feel they're going to win the primary, they don't want to be primaried. These people have been in office 15, 20, 30 years. They don't want to be primaried. They're not used to that. You know why? Then they got to raise money. Then they got to go through a campaign. Then they got to take time away from campaigning and raising money. They don't want to do that. So you call them and you tell them. Bernie's the strongest candidate to win November. That's why I want you to be on his side as a superdelegate. Do the right thing, or we're going to primary your ass. Period. People power. That's the way it gets done. And contribute to Bernie. Contribute to Bernie. That's what will happen in that 6-week period between June 15th and July 25th. He's got to raise money. He's going to go around the country continuing his rallies, getting his message out. And you have to call the superdelegates. And you got to go to the convention. 1 million people marching on the convention, knocking at the doors, banging them down. That's what's going to do it. People inside that convention hall on his side. Okay. Oh, boy. Trying to keep the troops in line is not easy. Anyway, Mike Caccioppoli, thanks for listening. And, one more thing, quickly. Yesterday we had a great little rally here in San Francisco. Get out the vote. We were on the corner of Castro and Market Street. Then we retraced the steps that people took the day Harvey Milk was assassinated all the way to City Hall. It's a long friggin' walk. And great response. Cars honking their horns, people screaming, "Yay, Bernie." We had a few annoying people, but, talk about them some other time. But it was a great event, and we're going to continue those. And I'd say if you're in all these states, whether you've already voted for Bernie or not, get out there. Get out there and show the people that you support Bernie. BernieSanders.com, contribute. This is going all the way to the convention and beyond. Mike Caccioppoli, thanks for watching as always.